me with Matt of Josiah today. How are you getting on?
All right, man. Yeah, good to meet you.
It's good to be back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, it's nice to be. It feels like I was only at a festival like this about a week ago, but obviously it's been a bit longer than that.
I think when for me it was when everyone was rammed into the ballroom like sardines. It's like, okay, we're back to normal.
Yeah, yeah. It feels more like normal. It feels like nothing's happened. We're just erased the last few years.
Absolutely, it does feel like that. Well, we're at the Black Art today. It's been pretty lively so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was the first time you were here with Josiah?
Long. Probably when Josiah formed in like 2000, we were playing a lot of venues that don't exist anymore in London. The Underworld a lot, the Black Art a lot. So I would say it was probably 2001, something like that, 2002. And then it's always been a regular little stop off here and there. And we used to do it like the Monarch, Dublin Castle. I can't remember the Monarch Sparfly, isn't it? Changed its name. There's a place. Is it the Angel in Islington as well?
Yeah.
All of the kind of the Black Heart size venues, and then I think we ended up playing with Orange Goblin at one Christmas thing at the Islington Academy. That was pretty sweet with Salvain, I think, as well. So, so yeah, the Black Heart. I mean, it's my favourite pub in London as well. Just when you come here just for a drink outside of any gigs going on.
Great,
it's like I like an ale. And they got some good ales,
do, don't they?
And it's like a really good atmosphere, and it's normal price and all those sorts of things. So it's like,
I was going to say the atmosphere, and this there's so like it's good to see everyone milling around, you know.
Yeah.
Like we said, that feels like normal again. But apart from places changing names, what is different about playing live now compared to 2000, 2001 time?
I don't know whether it's that different. I think there's more. The scene's bigger. It's like massive now. I mean, we were playing what was like the old road band in the 2000s when it was growing still, and it was sort of we probably got to play first of the few bigger ones, but that's moved on and become almost an avant-garde metal art piece now or something as a festival. It's like crazy, and it's massive. And then all the Sound Deliberation stuff. I mean, we were playing things like Stone from the Underground, I think 2006, and Up in Smoke, and all of those things just grew into this whole desert scene thing in London, Belgium, New York. That kind of grew after we sort of stopped in like 2009, 2010. That seemed to blossom, and then the bands that are more similar to Josiah seem to appear and get bigger as well with your kind of your Graveyards and your Cadavers and all that sort of thing. So the scene's completely different now. There wasn't that many bands doing the thing we would. It was a bit sort of, there was a market for it, but it was quite niche and quite small. So there was a limit to how much you could grow. But it seems while we were sleeping, everything's just got like massive, and it's just the diversity as well. I think in the late 2000s the scene got a bit. It just got a bit flat, and it wasn't that exciting. And then I think over the last, what would that be, another 10 years, it's completely changed. I think it's so diverse, and there's so many great bands playing so much different stuff, and I think the genre seems to be blown out of the water. I think it's just whether you like a band or not.
I think with the band like Ghosts getting big in the last 10 years as well, like that's changed the landscape for those.
Abadoom.
Exactly, yeah.
It is though, isn't it? It's so, it's really weird. It's like I love that whole theatrical thing, and I like the fact that they can trade their singers in and out all the time, don't they? And it still remains that band, and they've got that whole thing going on, and it's like comes from that heart of black metal. But then
it does.
I think I watched something, I don't know what it was, where they walk up to a big vampire party, and that was just like a weird ABBA pop track or something like that. So I don't really know Ghost albums, but every time I hear a track, it's like a different band. But I really like that. Yeah. Can't pin them down.
I think the first time I saw Ghost, it was probably about 10 years ago, and this was before they'd picked up a bit. But they're all in robes, and they stood still the entire set, and I was like, I don't know what I've just watched. And then I happened to see them again at a Bloodstock with no headline, and it was a completely different band, you know. I've seen them run around the stage, and I could say, okay, this is the stadium Ghost, you know.
Yeah, the only time I've seen a band play in robes and not moving, I think it was Sun. I always end up calling them Sun Eye, but it's like Sun. And they were doing the synths that make you basically evacuate your bowels, that robe band, in like I think it was the Green Room, which is like nice size venue. I think that might have been the Sword. Like Sword before they were like the Sword. And Sun, and that was like pretty much. I was a bit like. kind of it gives you a good kick up the bum when you see bands like that.
Doesn't it just, yeah. What made you want to resurrect Josiah? Was it related to what we've just said, or other things?
No, not at all. That's like, because I was doing other bands since Josiah. I crossed over with 2 bands, King's Frog Island, which was a studio thing.
Yeah.
I worked on their first 3 albums, and they've carried on and done more albums. And then I'd moved on to a bit more of a sort of a late 60s garage psych sort of thing with Cherry Choke. But it was more the writing. I was writing riffs and writing music, and I was just a bit like, in my head and my heart, I was like, these are Josiah tracks. It's like some things, it wasn't almost my choice. It was like a subconscious decision. And then as they were coming out, I'm thinking, this is that band. This isn't the band I'm currently in. And even though I was supposed to be writing for that band, it was just. And then I didn't say anything, and the bass player at the time was like, "You're writing Josiah tracks," and he was the bass player who was in Josiah as well. And I went, "Yeah, I know, I can like feel it." He went, "Are we going down that route?" And I went, "I think so. I think it's like Cherry Choke's like fading itself out, and Josiah's coming back to the table." So no, it wasn't. Because it's that same thing. A few people have said that about. There's almost an expectation that our music will automatically sit right in with what's going on. But I mean, maybe it's that artistic, like questioning your confidence and things like that. I don't assume that. They're all great bands that everyone's talking about. Not that I don't think we play music that we really love and we're really passionate about.
Yeah.
But it's really up to everyone who goes to gigs and buys the records. Really, it's like it needs to resonate, doesn't it? It's a sort of. I've got no preconceived ideas. It's just nice. It's nice to be invited back to things like Desertfest and just to play again. And it's nice to be having conversations where people are putting you in musically in that company and stuff like that. So it's like it's flattering. It's a nice compliment.
It is flattering, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you see the talent that's on today. To be part of that conversation, it means something to me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's nice. I think JJ at the Obelisk asked me whether it was a validation, but I've never felt like I needed to be validated. We've always like you make the music you make, and if so many people are into it and it stops at a certain level, that's where it stops. That's your market. That's your ear out there, and there's nothing you can. I'm not going to then go, oh, we'll chase the tail of something that's in fashion. It's never ever been about that. You're just making music that you want to make, and especially I think that's where. With bands like ourselves, it's always that fine line as well, that you don't want to just be about servicing the live thing and being a substitute for bands that no one can see anymore. You still want to try and make interesting albums and write some good songs that can sit besides some classic records. Because I don't know about yourself, but as far as I'm concerned, it's like you measure everything you do against your favourite bands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if that's Led Zeppelin. It's not to say you're Led Zeppelin, but it's just that quality and level. You're a bit like, why not aim to achieve that?
Yeah,
you're never going to fucking do it, but why not like aim to go for it? Why set yourself and go, we'll never be that, or we'll never be this. You'll be what you are, but I think the level that it's the level and the feeling that you're aiming for is the bit.
I guess you want to emulate the quality of those bands, knowing that you might never influence as many people as they did.
They
were once in a time, weren't they? Whereas we're a little bit late for that, maybe. But
we're part of the echo.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the 1000th echo or something like that. Yeah.
We had a new single from Josiah very recently. How does it feel to be, getting some new music out after?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. It's interesting because people have obviously been interested and started to talk about the old stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nice that there's almost like celebrating the back catalogue, and we're playing a lot of that in the set tonight. But it's always great. You always, as a band, you're always behind and happy about your new music, and that's the bit you want. You want people now to hear what you're doing now, and sort of see if people are feeling it and into it, and all that sort of thing. So it's great. We've never really been. We've always been an albums band and things like that, and then the landscape's changed. We've been able to digitally release on Spotify and all that sort of thing. So having a single out that we're kind of promoting, and that's the prelude to an album and all that sort of thing, is like it's a nice situation to be in. Again, it's a nice privilege. It's good that there's people on the labels, both Heavy Psych and Blues Funeral, that have got that. They have the faith in you and your music, and they put their money and time behind.
It's faith, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Without that, it's not going to happen, is it?
Not at all. But I guess with that in mind, with the new album coming out in a couple of months, 2-3 months, that's the one that you'd want people to focus on. You know, if they were to listen to Josiah for the first time.
Yeah, I think there's a weird out of sync thing with as things are never planned, with the pandemic held back the manufacture and release of the new album. That would have probably in reality have come out last year. But then it happens what happens with the whole vinyl sort of chaos, and they have to wait. And then we reissued out of the first raise last year on Heavy Psych, and then they were really keen to reissue the entire back cap. So there's been a little bit of an overlap of the two things. So it wasn't planned that everything would like all appear at once. But it's kind of like might as well get on with it, because we're already writing the new album anyway. So it's like well, if we get that out, get re-established, see if people are getting into it, and then we'll be demoing the new album in the summer. So it's sort of with a view to recording at the end of the year. So.
And I feel like Heavy Psych, they've got a good social, they've got a good internet presence, and it's a good label to have a repress for your old albums. I know that you wouldn't be the first, certainly not the last. And, how have they been? When did they approach you?
It was during, I think it might have been the first sort of summer of lockdown, because that was that strange thing. I'd already in my head been writing Josiah tracks, and I knew I was moving back towards a version of Josiah, but I've not really spoken to anyone about that. It was just me and the bass player had a conversation, and then I kind of went back and see if I had any master tapes or archives, and all. I'd kind of done it's a record and it's in the past, and you move on and you do this, and I'd moved on to other things, so I'd kind of packed everything away, luckily in a big suit, in a big like road case, and I found all these different things from radio sessions and all sorts. There's a lot of archive material, so that was quite nice because of the pandemic, having that time to reconnect with what you'd done and kind of take stock. And then at the same time as that, I think there was a contact with Heavy Psych, a contact with Ripple, and a contact with Blues Funeral. That all just sort of happened where they kind of were a conversation of, are you up to anything, what you're doing, and it worked in this little weird triangle. And then we were in a really nice position where the three labels all wanted to do something with us, and then you have that horrific, like going through all the pros and cons, and everyone would be cool to work with, so it doesn't make it easy, and it's kind of. And then the initial, that's why I kind of simplified it, and we went to that initial, just get the out of the first raise 20th version on Heavy Psych. That was the only conversation that happened, and then that snowballed into Blues Funeral pushed quite hard, saying, have you been working on any new material, what are your plans? And I went, well, funnily enough, yes, and they like pretty much had an album demoed, and they were like, oh, we're really interested, and then Heavy Psych were also interested. It was quite difficult, so then they were like, we'll pick up your back cat, Blues Funeral will do the new album, and everyone seemed to be okay with that scenario without pissing anyone off, really. Keeping the faith nice and even. Again, nice problem to have, but
it's better to be spoilt for choice.
And they're all really good. They're all great at what they do. So
they're professionals, aren't they? Through that back catalogue, and I've asked something like this to everyone, but what's the Josiah riff that sticks out in your head as, glad I wrote that one?
Well, the one ironically, the riff everyone loves is Mal Paso. I didn't write that. The bass player wrote that. I wrote the chorus and all the lyrics, but he wrote the main riff. That's my curse for being the 99% of the track. So the one everyone goes, play Mal Paso, and you're like, thank you very much.
That 1%.
That's a pretty cool track. I like that one. I really like Skylighted Tilt off the second album. That's pretty sweet. That's like more of the punk rock. I'm a fan of like that kind of Josephus thing, like No Time off the third album, and The Dark and tracks like that. I think it was interesting being made to listen back to all the albums, because I don't really do that, and like reevaluate, and I'd kind of moved on from the guts and glory of the first EP and the albums, like all massive fuzz, and I've got a huge love of Mudhoney and stuff like that, and I hear all of that going on in there, and it's like it's out of control sort of feedback and fat. And then as it went through, second album's a bit more like about the songs and a bit more of a punky Detroit attitude, a bit more of the MC5 and stuff like that coming through. And then the third album's a lot more like to me like a classic like proto-metal rock album, with like more anthemic and all. So they've all got different flavours, like different children. They've all got different things, but I think it was good going back over everything because you start to realise actually I like them all for different reasons.
I get that.
I've not really got a favourite. And
where are you now as a guitarist in terms of your tone? You know, what's music to your ears?
I was listening to something the other day and I was like, you know, that's a really sweet guitar sound, but I got a terrible memory. I'm not going to remember what it was. It's something new, but I just like. Actually, what it was, I can't think what they're called, but they're a Swedish band. They've been going for a little while, and they're a little bit like Graveyard.
Yeah.
Something like Vadetta or Vadanor or something with a V. I'm not quite sure. I'm terrible with those names.
Swedish V. Okay.
I was hearing that the other day, and I thought I love that because it's got that glassy. We were talking about this before. We're using the amp, and you've got that very much that British glassy tone with an SG, and I think it was an Orange, not a Marshall, but you get that glassy kind of Fleetwood Mac sound. That's quite difficult to get that. And then when you kick a fuzz or the volume, you get that lovely, almost woman tone. There, I love those areas. For me, it's like that. It's that sort of Jeff Beck, like early Page, Clapton around Cream, Blue Cheer do it quite a bit as well.
Warm, isn't it?
And then when you kick the fuzz on, you can have a bit of that extra sort of thing. But in terms of a guitar and an amp relationship, it's the volume driving the amp and just getting, like I say, from that glassy plexi tone to a woman sort of fat but still clear and a bit of sustain to it. I really like, and I think a lot of current bands they seem to capture that really, really well. Like, I think more so than I've ever heard, really. Sort of.
Sure. What do you do before you go on stage now? Have you got a little ritual?
I don't know. Tonight I do I do an interview with you because I'm on my own a bit. No real rituals. I always promise myself I'll warm up the vocals and the fingers, and I don't. I just end up arriving just at the right time to get the stuff on stage. To the rest of the band saying, "Where have you been? We've been calling," or something like that. But no real. And then it's that thing, like I say, always our thing is just slow it down, you know, because you obviously have that pre-gig adrenaline.
Sure.
We don't really. It's not really a nerve. It's a good nerve. It's like an excitement. None of us really worry about playing. We enjoy playing and we want to get on and get done. But I think sometimes you can get caught in the moment and everything's a bit of a blur and a rush.
I get that.
So I think it's like you just kind of try and slow everything down, and then if anything goes wrong, string breaks, pedals, you just like there is no rush. Just keep it calm. I think you learn that quite early on, don't you? Otherwise you don't enjoy it.
You got to enjoy it. I don't want to keep you from your pre-gig ritual any
Sorry,
longer.
yeah.
But well, thanks for your time, Matt.
No, thanks
It's
for you.
been good fun. It's been Matt from Josiah.